Everybody, welcome back to my channel. Fatty's down here, just sitting on my notes. So once again, this is going to be a convoluted video. So I started out wanting to read a ton of self-improvement books and do a video giving my impressions and summarizing them and stuff like that. And I was reading a Bob Proctor book. I don't even remember what it was called. And during that period, I just stopped believing in a lot of things that he was saying and a lot of law of attraction people were saying. Like many people during COVID, was really forced to look at what was not working internally because we're indoors, we're thinking a lot more, which is when I did Jeffrey Allen and I did the Mind Valley year subscription and a Gaia year subscription, and I just was like pounding out courses: Joe Dispenza, Carolyn Mace, Jeffrey Allen, Vishen Lakhiani. I just wanted to sort of get my money's worth, but I got really burnt out. And I have no problem with Joe Dispenza or Carolyn Mace, or Jeffrey Allen. They're big influences in my life, but I was noticing other people. The more I learned about them, the more I found out they were just complete shysters. Like there was a alien whistleblower, and I found out that he was not telling the truth. This isn't a video to call people out. It was more that I realized, finding out a lot of this stuff, a lot of these people are kind of bullshitty, and I found some pettiness too. Like there was a medium I was following, and she was saying that she could read Eckhart Tolle's aura, and it was dark, and I like Eckhart Tolle. Like I like what he talks about. I like his books, and I just, like, what is the point of all this? It's just so petty. And I'm researching Doreen Virtue, and she's just got this shame-based toxic Christianity, and I'm reading this Bob Proctor book while all this stuff is sort of building up in me, and I agree with some of the things he's saying. Discipline's really good, clearing out your subconscious is really good, letting go of the past. All these things are going to help you have a richer life. Where I just get so sick of it is he's also preaching the prosperity gospel, which is super gross, and feel free to look that up. I'm not going to go into it. And he's one of those people, again, that's like, go, like, you got to get your goals, you got to write your goals down, and like, I don't know my purpose. What if I don't know my goals other than, reading goals, yoga goals? Am I just left out of the equation? And I've changed my thoughts. I've done a lot of work. Nothing external changes. Sorry, that's not exactly true. But all this, vision board, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to get this amazing job, this amazing boyfriend, like, none of that happens. What I notice is that I get more grounded and I can glide through life more easily because my emotions, I know how to process them, and I'm more I find it narcissistic. To be honest, I find we're in this narcissistic age. I find it weird to focus on outcomes, like getting a car, manifesting a relationship, like, I find, like I said, there's a lot of really important things that are being discussed, and in a way, the law of attraction is showing people a different way to think. So I'm definitely not here to dismiss all of it. It's the way it's presented, perhaps, that I have the biggest problem with, and some of the things that it omits, I have a problem with, or doesn't make clear, I have a real problem with. And it narcissistic. I find we are in quite a narcissistic spiritual age. And in uncompassion, I think there's a lack of compassion too. What I mean is, I think there's way too much focus in law of attraction on manifesting what you want. What I have noticed with my spiritual journey is what is important is for me to clean up my psyche and open that space for God and go through, let my life unfold that way. How can I serve? How can I listen to God more clearly? How can I live my life to my highest good and the highest good of other people? So when I read about doing a vision board to get a relationship or a car or a mansion or whatever, all I can think of is, if you're not happy where you are, those things are not going to make you happy. And I think you can get into a little bit of a selfish, self-centered loop of just putting a focus on what you want versus what needs to be done in the world, because there's a lot of pain and suffering. My second point is that I find a lot of these books cut out pain and suffering completely. Like they just, if that's happening in your life, it's because you attracted it. If you're getting cancer, it's because you attracted it. But I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of forces that are beyond our control. I think we have soul contracts that might be quite painful. And I also just don't have an issue with the idea of pain itself. I think it's part of the whole equation of being a human. And I think that there is a lot of good that can come from pain. There was a Russian author that I studied in university, Nikolai Bergev, and he talks about how there's meaning in suffering. For myself, suffering depression and anxiety for years was transformative and recalibrated me into somebody who understands darker emotions and has a lot of compassion and very little judgment for people going through things that are difficult. I think it's really dangerous if you look at people and say, well, they attracted that. And I think it's another sort of like shame-based belief system, because if you're going through something hard and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I am not thinking positive thoughts, I've gone off track, I think that's wrong too. I think that our feelings need to be looked at and processed. And I think it's a much bigger journey than just changing your thoughts and positive things happen. I think that's really setting a lot of vulnerable people up to disappointment and not teaching them how to have critical thinking, judgment, be grounded, to be able to go through life dealing with it in a resilient way. Just in those books, having suffered from depression and anxiety, I didn't find much in Law of Attraction that addressed that. And I just don't think it's simple, and I don't think your goal should be change your thoughts, manifest a relationship. I think there's a lot of inner work that needs to be done. Clean up the psyche. So I don't know if it's just the way it's marketed, or I don't know if it's that a lot of business types write these Law of Attraction books and they're more type A and they're more like go, go, go. I don't know if they just don't want to talk about that darker side where you can do every single thing right and you don't manifest your dreams. But I also think that the mind that comes up with these dreams maybe doesn't have as big a perspective as spirit, as God has, as your soul has. So I think sometimes it can be painful to hold on to your dreams too much, because then you go down this road where you're trying to change your thoughts, trying to manifest your dreams, trying to raise your vibration, and there's a real sort of anxiety around that, rather than, what is my psyche saying? What can I clean up? What is that thought saying? Let me not judge that thought, that feeling, this period of pain, this period of depression. Maybe it is bringing something that I don't understand yet. So I just feel that Law of Attraction did not allow me to fully experience life in a way that I didn't feel like I was doing it wrong, and it was so shame-based. My other problem with these books is I don't think it encourages free thinking. When I studied philosophy in university, I liked that every philosopher had a different way of looking at the world, and you could never prove it, right? Like, it was just, as Paul F. Tompkins says, thinking about wondering about stuff. And I mean, I guess it's like mental masturbation to a degree, but I like philosophy because there is room for you to interpret the world in a different way, and to be honed in your critical thinking and your discernment about that. I'm not saying everybody's a philosopher and every philosophy out there is valid. I'm reading Kierkegaard again right now, and the brilliance is incomprehensible to me. He has so much logic and just high level thinking, and I do believe in that. I do believe thinking is like any art form where there's, you know, a degree, and it is a skill that you can hone. It's a skill. Critical thinking is something that doesn't come naturally. You do have to tend to learn it and work at it. It is a craft. And I do think that when you learn discernment, when you learn how to, I found going through philosophy, like, you have to take symbolic logic, stuff like that. I'm not here to like pump philosophy. I just think that the world in general, and especially everything that's going on, people are so reactive online. I long for the days when I was in symbolic logic and it teaches you how to think. I think it's very important. Critical thinking, I 100% am fully on board with. And I think when you have good discernment, you have a healthy level of skepticism, I think you become immune to bullshit. Your bullshit radar goes up, and I forgot who I was. There was a time in my life where everything was aligned, like I was doing what was most me. And when I went off track of that, I became so alone and so alienated and so vulnerable. And that's been a 20-year journey. And I think that's how I got kind of tangled up in a lot of this pseudo psychology nonsense that isn't the most logical, and I just don't think there's enough evidence for manifestation. And I again think it just shuts out so much of the human experience, which is pain and suffering, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think it makes people sometimes a little shallow. I've been on dates where, the guy is just like, yeah, I'm just like really into positive thinking. And I just think, okay, so so if my mom dies, are you going to get upset because I'm not good vibes only? I sort of hate all that nonsense because I think it makes people less compassionate. Good vibes only. What are you talking about? So are you shunning people who are going through something real? This is such a tricky thing to talk about because I do think it's important to have a positive attitude. I think it's important to have healthy thoughts. I think it's important to clean up your psyche. But I don't think that we live in a fair world. I see the most garbage, awful, negative people manifest the most amazing things. And I see amazing people go through sad, tragic lives. And it's not a neat package of, if you think these thoughts, you are going to manifest your dream life. I think life is much more complex than that. I think there's many more forces out there. And I think our soul craves growth in a meaningful way. So when I hear things like good vibes only, I can't help but roll my eyes and think that that's going to be a fair weather friend, and they're going to abandon me in a time of need. So I guess my conclusion is I watched a documentary on Van Gogh's life, and he was bullied, he had mental illness, as we all know, and then he may have committed suicide or he may have been murdered. He didn't sell a painting in his life, and what I found inspiring is that he did his craft, not because he was gonna, he did his craft despite having this horrendous, sad, hard life. And I just thought, if somebody looked at his life that was in the law of attraction community and said, well, he manifested that because of blah, 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 how disrespectful that seems, and how it doesn't look into the complexity of his life, and how dismissive that is, how we don't know the greater mystery of things. Why did Van Gogh have all this talent and not sell a painting? Would law of attraction have worked for him? He kept going, and I find inspiration in that, because I, in a way, think that there's at least times in your life that are like that. Frank Lloyd Wright was similar. There was 10 years where he just fell out of fashion. I can't remember if he didn't make anything architecturally, but there was a 10-year span where nothing was happening for Frank Lloyd Wright and Van Gogh. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's a slight arrogance to law of attraction. Who do you think you are that things are going to be easy for you because you just have like positive good vibes only? I think life is just much more complicated, and I think there is integrity in just painting your paintings despite everything. It's the same with the dark night of the soul. St. John of the Cross was following God's guidance and got betrayed by his order. You gotta find meaning in those heart-wrenching things in life. And I think that's where real integrity lies and real meaning lies, is when you're doing something despite the external things that it's going to bring. There's courage to that, and I just think courage and integrity and getting up every day and doing your best are more important than following the superstitious game of, oh, I gotta think this because I'll manifest that, and it's just gonna lead to shame and blame, and I'm gonna, it just, and I'm not, again, it's a weird one, because I do think that there is a lot of merit in law of attraction. Greg Braden talks about that there's intelligence in your heart, and some evidence that when you are opening your heart and feeling the emotion of something that you want in life, you are resonating on that, and it can sometimes bring it in. It's just that my problem goes with when this huge chunk of life is not even explored, and the impossible pressure of putting it all on you and your thoughts, and then giving you no guidance of how you're really supposed to change your thoughts. Beliefs and thoughts are quite difficult to change. I just think it's a really setting people up for disappointment and failure, and for them to go into shame, go into hopelessness, possibly go into despair. And it's those people that breaks my heart. I think a lot of people are led astray by our good vibes only law of attraction culture. I also think it just shortchanges people from looking deeper at how trauma has led to certain thought. I hope that makes sense. I just got disenchanted with all this, and I am actually striving for a world where things are not so convoluted, there's not so much contradiction, but that we are able to accept ourselves, get healthy, get grounded, be in unity, be connected to our source, let life unfold, know that when there is painful times, we'll get through them, build strength, build resilience, all that stuff. that's where I'm heading, and I'm ready to put a lot of the shyster type stuff behind me. And I just encourage us all to know how lovable we are, and to be able to get up every day and make the most out of our lives, and not be so focused on the outcome, but like a trust that there is a purpose that in all this, even if it doesn't make any sense, to live in the mystery, which can be quite difficult. So yeah, that is where I'm at, and thank you for letting me share all of that. I just needed to kind of like get it off my chest and work it out a little bit, and Fatty just says hi and bye. Goodbye.